As potential front-end web developers, we are familiar with HTML and CSS as well as JavaScript. We know that we are going to have to learn these inside out and the roles they play in the landscape of the web. But there are other languages that we will come across and most likely work with at some point. These are known as server-side languages. Let's take a look at what we need to know about the client-side languages and then cover some of the server-side stuff. So HTML and CSS are used by browsers. Essentially, these are instructions for the browser to follow to render some desired content and design. Most browsers render most HTML and CSS in the same fashion, but there are some variants. In the next clip, we will touch on this in more detail. HTML is the structure, the bones of the content. The CSS is the styling, the outfit for the content. The CSS can also dictate animation. JavaScript provides interactivity to the browser. It tells the browser to make changes to its rendered HTML content, its styling, and more. It is also used to request more content. JavaScript has been referred to as the language of the web. So the three of these, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, make up the trifecta of front-end languages. Each of these can actually be found on the server side because it's the server side that typically delivers these to the client application. While CSS and JavaScript are usually delivered as resources, or served up as a request for a file directly, HTML can often be found as being delivered from some other language code, a server-side language code. For example, a website built using WordPress consists of PHP scripts that use PHP code to do some logic work on the server, like calling into a database and getting some data, and then constructs the HTML by mixing in dynamic data and conditional buildup of elements using PHP code along with static HTML that was written to output the final HTML that will be delivered in the response of a web request. This is known as server-side rendering. As a front-end web developer, we may be tasked with building the static HTML portion to begin with, but most likely we will end up learning some bits of PHP so we can mix in the dynamic data and conditional rendering that constructs our final desired output. Another server-side scenario we will face is the case in which we need a host web application for our front-end code. Let's say we are building a client-side web app using a framework like Angular, Ember, Aurelia, etc. A website can be built using ASP.NET MVC, powered by the C# language, on the server side to handle URL routing, dynamic resource delivery, and user authentication. That server-side code can then control delivery of the front-end code for the client-side web app. The server-side code provides a bunch of additional features and control of the other web stuff needed to make up a website or application as a whole. Node.js is another server-side architecture, powered by JavaScript, which can be used to handle website stuff on the server side. While it is possible to have a website project that only consists of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files, it is more likely that we will find them built upon a server-side language that mixes in the buildup and delivery of these client-side languages. And there is a very high probability that we, as front-end web developers, will need to be able to at least handle some basic coding and be familiar with some of these server-side languages. As we begin our journey into front-end development, we should take a look into these server-side languages, play around a little bit, and get a general understanding of what is out there. When we land a job or client project, it will generally come with some server-side language already in use. At that point, we will be able to identify what server-side language we want to focus on learning on. But until that moment, we need to make ourselves aware of the common languages, but don't need to learn any one in depth. So languages and server-side architectures for us to check out are things like PHP, C# and .NET, Ruby, and Node.js. In our next clip, we are going to discuss browsers and reveal all the intricacies that we need to know about them.